Welcome to the Rad Dad Redemption Podcast. Here's your hosts, Drew and Dex.
All right, welcome to the official Alberta Separation Podcast.
Alberta boys! We'd have boys. We back. Yeah, hell yeah. Today was a great day for democracy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess yesterday
It depends who you ask, though.
It does.
Yeah. We're diving in. For those of you that get your news from this podcast, first of all, read a fucking book or something.
Yeah, don't.
I don't know what to tell you.
Don't get your news from us.
As of, I guess it was yesterday evening or afternoon. The court has struck down the separatist petition. It's not going to proceed.
The illegal question that got forced through anyway. They changed the rules to make sure they could get the requisite number of signatures for the petition. And it failed because they did not consult First Nations first. It's unconstitutional.
Yeah. And a lot of people, we'll get into this a little bit.
Oh, we're going to get into it.
That was like a big thing that people were bringing up. They're like, well, what about Indigenous treaty rights? And people were like, we'll figure that out. Like, it was like that's down the line. I was like, well, no. But I was like, that can't be the argument. This is just a commenter on Facebook or something. But was the argument.
Were they saying it's down the line, or were people like, I'm not going to be held hostage by a couple of Indians?
Yeah. I mean, I think, if you read between the lines, but they're like, oh, well, no, like we get the petition and then down the line we figure out the treaty issue. But then that's what came to head is like, no, you need to sort this out and then you can do the petition. And it's so funny that like that was the main thing people were bringing up, and they were so dismissive of it, and it's the one that killed it. But I mean, again, rewind a couple weeks, the big scandal about having the voter list with people's addresses and voter ID information, potential huge fraud could come about. Like you can, with somebody's name, address, and photo ID information, you can go open credit cards.
Oh, God. In this era, it's terrifying. And they're like, well, the NDP knew they should have said something, and this isn't really a big deal. And you know what? And here's the thing. Actually, this is so fucking classic, the goalpost moving. Because now I just actually read a tweet or an X from Bruce McAllister being like, this isn't about the petition being tossed out. This isn't about the referendum question being tossed out. This is the fact that now 700,000 Albertans on both sides of the issue aren't allowed to have referendum questions. This is about democracy. And I was like, that isn't what it was about.
No, because you can still do this. And also, I mean, they are miring the Forever Canada petition, the question, in like legalese and procedural shit.
Yeah.
But that one has a lower threshold in terms of Indigenous relations because it is ostensibly like, first of all, it's kind of a meaningless question. If we're being honest, it's like, do you want to remain a part of Canada? Yes, but it's not like if you answer no to it, it's not like that triggers something.
It's just contrarian to prove a point.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but there's nothing to consult Indigenous people on because the treaties already exist, and the question you're voting on it's status quo basically.
Yeah.
Right. So there's nothing to. Again, the bar is a little lower for that one. And so to say like, oh, well, these people on both sides, it's like, no, that's very reductionist because there is still one that can proceed if Elections Alberta will allow it to proceed, if you will let it get out of all these fucking committees you've got it mired in. Yeah. Bruce McAllister is a fucking wiener butt. Like he's...
Now, hold on.
He used to be on the news.
Yeah.
He used to be on the news. And I used to be like, I went through broadcast school and all of that. I used to think, news people... we have our own biases, but we present the news without bias, and you take that very seriously. That is like the main ethical foundation of presenting the news.
Or you used to in 2009.
It's changed in recent years, but and then to see him and he's just the mouthpiece for the UCP. I was like, well, hold on, where did your ethics and integrity go, Mr. Global News, Mr. Huge chin dimple? Fill that shit in, you
perfect.
Fucking ugly.
Okay, I'm glad you went there because here's what I wanted to accomplish today. The news according to Rad Dad. I feel like we often fight fire with fire. We're quick to judge because it's easy to judge and say like, well, this is ridiculous. You guys don't read books. You are morons. These arguments are not the same. They're not equal. They should not be held in the same manner because one is a real argument, one makes sense, and one is stupid people saying things, right? And so we're very reductive. We can easily be dismissive of the other side, and that actually gives them license for when we come out and say, like my Instagram post the other day,
which I had a good laugh at.
I was just I was giddy. I was like,
you
stupid, you stupid idiot, Danielle Smith, you dumb fucking moron. You knew it was unconstitutional before any of this. Anyway, when we behave like that and when we act like that, we are no better. We essentially are giving them the ability to be like, well, these are just leftist agents, trying to diminish our point. We're doing the same thing. It's not a good way to be. It isn't. We just call them stupid.
Yeah, I know. I will say that, but I will say, it often feels unfair that one side has a monopoly on reductionist arguments and the other side has to be very pragmatic. You see it in the US all the time.
Yep. I think it is unfair.
It's a complete power imbalance when you're trying to have a debate, because it's like, well, this side can just say whatever they want, be like, oh, fucking Indians.
Yeah.
In the way of my fucking petition.
Yep.
And then you have to come back with a very scholarly argument, or else it's like, well, no, you're stupid at their level. It's like, why can't we? And
I feel that, and I do that, but this kind of is reminiscent of my job. You're dealing with 12, 13-year-olds. You're trying to get a rational response from an irrational entity. It's impossible. It's blood from a stone. We're asking too much of them, which again is kind of like another way of being like, you guys are fucking stupid. But what I really wanted to accomplish with this episode is I wanted to kind of take a more linear approach, and I don't want to say high road, but I want to very, very succinctly and articulately talk about why separation is objectively fucking stupid, and why if you believe in the Centurion Project or Stay Free Alberta, if you subscribe to that belief, if you went out and signed the petition, why you are less than. And I want to be very clear about that.
And you're very prepared. You got notes in front of you. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the arguments that they've made. We're going to present those arguments. So it's not going to be like, hey, you fucking idiot. We're going to present those arguments, and then we're going to dismantle them.
Well, I mean, they don't really have an argument. That's
fair enough.
That's kind of one of the things I wanted to get to. There isn't a whole lot of substance on their end. And I think it's kind of my final point that I want to discuss. It's an anomaly. I want to try to explain why we're here. How did this happen? What is actually going on? When I go onto Instagram and I see these dudes that I grew up with, same schools, same friends, same community, how did we get here? Mm-hmm. What's happened? And that's pretty grandiose. That's pretty pie in the sky for a couple of fucking dickheads in a basement. I don't want to already start self-deprecating. We're going to try.
We will try our best.
So I've got kind of three overarching themes here. Why separation is legitimately stupid, why separation is inherently racist, and then I already touched on this, what is really happening here? What is really happening in Alberta? Okay?
Yeah, I like it.
All right.
I like the preparedness. I'm just here to mediate.
Yeah, well, and to bounce off.
Okay.
I'm going to go through some points, and we're going to open this up to discussion. Okay? So let's get right into it. Do we have a jingle? Do we have an Alberta jingle?
I can make one.
Done. Play that fucking Alberta separatist jingle, baby.
I'm just going to play the song from the AI episode.
I know. Yeah. There's got to be something else. Sure. Whatever. Okay.
Well, we're mandating freedom with a capital F. We're tone deaf to logic, but we're shouting till we're deaf. We'll build a big wall out of old pump jacks and stop paying those living in society taxes. From the Rockies to the border, we're taking a stand in the sovereign landlocked, lonely promised land.
So, point number one, why separation is legitimately stupid. Okay? First point, landlocked geography and trade vulnerability. As an independent nation, Alberta would be completely landlocked, surrounded by Canada to the north, east, and west, and the United States to the south. International law, such as the UN Convention of Law of the Sea, provides landlocked states right to access to the sea, but this does not guarantee the construction of pipelines or specific trade terms. Alberta would lose its guaranteed internal access to Canadian ports like Vancouver or Prince Rupert. It would be forced to negotiate transit treaties with potentially hostile rest of Canada or the US, both of whom would hold significant leverage over Alberta's primary export, oil.
Yeah, huge power imbalance. And I think I said this on a previous episode. I think if we were to, a lot of them were presenting this as like, we're going to be an independent nation. I think that was disingenuous. I think a lot of the people that were signing this petition were doing so with the idea in mind that this was step one to joining the United States.
I would agree with that.
So I think that, the argument is disingenuous, and it is stupid to be like, oh, well, we're going to become a landlocked nation that's dependent on two other nations, one of them who's going to be incredibly hostile towards us because we just left them.
Yeah. They're not going to be like, oh, chill. You guys, you're
fine.
Our best friends.
That's fine. I think that argument wasn't an actual argument. The real argument, if you were to dig a little deeper, was like, and I assume if you were to ask a lot of these people that signed this petition, was going to be, well, no, we're going to be a part of the U.S. in due time.
And I would also assert that is probably a lot of them, but I also think there's a big number of petition signers that are also the same people 5 years ago that were waving the Canadian flag.
Oh, yeah.
And freedom convoyers, and they haven't thought about anything. And they're just a despondent underclass of people who've had hard times, and they need someone to fucking, rage at.
Yeah.
And like there isn't an argument. They're literally like, what can I do? Because I'm mad and things aren't going my way.
And I have heard that argument. It's like, well, no, like when I sign this, it's really just to go to the table with Ottawa and say, hey,
I just want to stick it to them.
Yeah, well, and get a better deal. It's like, well, no, but if you've signed this and we have a vote, there's no going back on that, right? Like it's not like, oh, hey, well, if you talk to us, we'll just throw this thing out. I mean, the courts did, but it's not like we're like, hey, we're going to proceed with this, but if we feel like we get a good enough deal, then we're going to scrap it. That's not really an option at that point if it was proceeding to a ballot initiative, right? So it's like, I don't know if I buy that one either, but a lot of people are saying, well, this isn't real. We're not actually separating. We are getting a better deal from Ottawa. This is our bargaining chip.
You're playing with fucking fire, though.
Yep.
Because guess what? Like, we never thought Trump would be president.
Brexit.
We never thought Brexit would happen.
Said Brexit.
There's no fucking way. There's no way, right? So, it's dangerous. All right, so moving on with why separation is legitimately stupid, and we already touched on this in our opener, the complex negotiations with Indigenous nations.
Yep.
This is very close to home for me as a 100% Indigenous person. Okay, just so everyone knows. A significant portion of Alberta's land is subject to numbered treaties, specifically Treaties 6, 7, and 8, signed between First Nations and the British Crown, which is now represented by the Canadian federal government, not the Alberta provincial government. Indigenous leaders have frequently asserted that their treaty rights are with the Crown and not the province. If Alberta leaves Canada, these treaties do not automatically transfer to a new Alberta state. Legal experts and First Nation groups have noted any attempt to secede without Indigenous consent would likely lead to massive legal injunctions, land claim disputes, and potentially the partition of the province, where treaty lands remain part of Canada while only non-treaty areas secede. Mm-hmm. And obviously, this was like day one prior to the petition. Like, you can't. It's not yours.
Yeah.
This deal isn't with you.
The deal's been made with someone else. You can't renegotiate a deal as a third party. I can't go renegotiate your mortgage between you and whatever bank as a third party, the same as I can't renegotiate treaty rights as a independent nation between two other nations. No matter
how much you really, really want to.
Yeah.
no matter how bad you think you should be able to, because you don't like Indians, and we'll get to that.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that one honestly is pretty black and white.
And that's ultimately what killed all this.
Yes.
Which is kind of, I want to say it's a little surprising, because I definitely thought what was going to kill it was going to be potential legal challenges. Like Jason Kenney's got some legal challenges personally against Centurion Project and the Alberta Independence Project, where they revealed his personal information on a virtual town hall.
And he said, he was like, this, like, just to your point earlier, this is fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
I have a lot of detractors. I have a lot of people who don't like me.
Yep.
It's
You just
we
gave
live
them
in
my
a
home
dangerous
address.
society. You give them their home address.
Yep.
What the fuck? Yeah, like
Part of me is like, I kind of wish I did have that list though, because we'd be doing this podcast on the sidewalk in front of Danielle Smith's house.
she's in High River.
Yeah, she's somewhere in there.
We talked about doing something silly, and we're like, we'd get arrested so fucking quick. Let's not actually do that. That's a pretty bad idea. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's worth saying we're talking about the petition being killed. I don't know if we've explicitly said this yet. It is not actually killed. In
it's
fact,
not fully dead and buried.
Danielle Smith came out immediately and was like, we're going to appeal that. That doesn't sound like the law is right, because I don't like it.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. We're now using taxpayer dollars. Taxpayers, a majority of which overwhelmingly did not sign the petition. And we don't even know how many of those signatures on the petition are legitimate.
Honestly.
And there's no way of verifying or checking.
But to her and to the UCP, they think, and it's been actually like stated on Stay Free, those 300,000 signers are also going to go and buy UCP memberships. This is going to be a stranglehold. Like, they are cementing their future governing this province.
Yeah.
You know, as long as they can play to that extremist base, which is the problem the Conservatives have always had, and which is why they split.
Yeah.
We had the NDP for a while. You know, my wife said this the other day. She's like, oh, well, because I was going off, right? And I was like, fuck them, fuck this, fuck that. And she's like, well, maybe the NDP will get in again. And I was like, no. That was like super, super specifically because of the Conservatives breaking apart and not being able to align their efforts. And they realize now that they can't do that because then they're going to lose power.
But that is potentially happening again a little bit with the Alberta Tory party.
Go on.
Okay.
Go on.
So Thomas Lukaszak.
My boy.
Yeah, he's starting another kind of center-right conservative party. I believe the Alberta Tory party is what they're going with. They wanted to go with they wanted to revive the progressive conservative name, and the UCP blocked them and said you can't start a party with the name conservative in it. So they're going Alberta Tory party.
Man, do you ever, just quick aside, do you ever, like, all of this stuff, even the appeal process that they're about to embark on, like, do you ever just stop and think, like, well, that's my tax money?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah. That's,
this is not free. None of this is free.
I just looked at my pay stub and I did pay provincial income tax this week. And a portion of that ostensibly is going towards a cause that I genuinely don't support. And you can say that about any taxes and any cause,
fair.
right? But, you know, it could be like, well, why am I paying for a fucking road up north when I'm never going to drive past Edmonton? You know, it's that's not a great argument, but I'm like, oh, this is crazy. Like, I want to be a part of Canada, but, you know, 0.001 cents of my income tax that I just paid this week is going to go towards this court battle to separate from Canada.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Perfect segue. The next point for why separation is legitimately stupid deals with money. Let's talk about currency. So, economic instability and currency risks. Creating a new country requires the establishment of a new currency, a central bank, and a national credit rating, all of which carry immense initial costs and volatility. If Alberta continued to use the Canadian dollar without a formal monetary union, similar to dollarization, it would have zero influence over interest rates or monetary policy, effectively handing its economic steering wheel to the country it just left. Conversely, launching an Alberta dollar would likely lead to high volatility due to the province's heavy reliance on a single commodity, oil, making the currency a petrodollar subject to the whims of global energy markets, which we can all say right fucking now are zany.
Yeah.
Like,
Right now, the dollar would probably be great, the Alberta dollar.
Yeah.
There would be periods of time where it's been horrible, and it would absolutely be like the petrodollar of petrodollars. Like, you can make the argument that the Russian ruble is very petrodollar heavy, right? That's huge export for them. Venezuela was very much petrodollar heavy. A lot of people make the argument the U.S. is kind of a petrodollar because it's the international currency, and that's oil is the international commodity. Right? The Alberta dollar would be like, this is directly and solely tied to the price of oil. And and it's not going to stay high forever. It's high right now. Might be high for a couple of years. It's not going to be like that forever.
And what's it like the next to the energy sector? Like, I think a lot of our money comes from liquor and gaming.
That and I think agriculture.
Agriculture. Okay, that'd be the only one that stands, because once we're broke, right, we're not going to be gambling.
No.
Yeah,
No,
like it all falls apart. It all crumbles very quickly.
You can't eat and drink oil.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And then the people in agriculture that are trying to sell their resources, whether that's grain, whether that's cattle, whether that's pork, whatever, they would be trying to sell in foreign currencies. Like they're not going to deal in the shitty volatile Alberta dollar when they have a commodity that they can sell for US dollars or Canadian dollars.
And never mind that we just took a hit on the infrastructure. Like how are we getting that out of the province? Yeah. Very insane to think. And I think that one was important because that's another argument you hear a lot is, it's a prosperity project. We look at us, we all have no money. If we can separate, we're all going to be rich off our asses. The beer is going to flow like wine. Like it's just going to absolutely change everything. And we could very quickly become fucking impoverished.
Oh yeah. I think Alberta, as an individual, like if Alberta were to be a state in the US, it would be somewhere in the middle for GDP per capita, around like Oklahoma, right? Like we like to think that we're this very prosperous province. And within this union that we currently are, we are, because we have access to tidewater and all of that. We have access to the resources of a major world power. When we're by ourselves, that would cease to exist. It's like that wouldn't be a thing anymore.
Yeah, another bad one. Okay, this is the last one I have for legitimately stupid. The loss of global influence and federal protection. And I think a lot of people have said this right away, like, what, Alberta's military, Yeah. That's an oversimplification, but Alberta currently benefits from being part of the G7 and G20 nations, providing it with significant diplomatic weight and security. An independent Alberta would have to apply for a membership in international bodies like the UN, NATO. There is no guarantee that the US or Mexico would offer the same favorable trade terms to a small new nation as they do to Canada. Not that they're offering us very favorable conditions currently. Anyway, furthermore, Alberta would lose its safety net of federal transfers during economic downturns, such as the billions in federal support provided during the COVID pandemic or during periods of extreme oil price crashes. There'd be no stimulus package.
Yeah, everybody likes to say Alberta pays for everything. Oh, we send transfer
payments. Yeah, fuck it.
There was a time in the 80s and 90s where Alberta was a net receiver of transfer payments. We conveniently like to forget about that. We conveniently like to forget that there was a time where Ontario and BC were paying for Alberta's shit.
I think people don't know that.
Especially people our age, right?
Yeah.
Like we would have been children when maybe Alberta was last receiving transfer payments. They don't remember how difficult it was. They don't remember in the late 80s, a lot of people literally, they called it jingle mail. You're mailing your keys back to the bank because you couldn't sell your house for what it was worth. So it was like, here's your security back on the mortgage. I'm walking away. I've got nothing to show for this. Here's the fucking keys.
Our memories are so short.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I guess it's fair for people that are, let's say our age, 35, 36 and younger, because you would not remember that. Right? Unless your family went through that situation, but even then you would have very hazy memories of that, where it was like, oh, I remember when I was 4, we ended up moving and we were renting a place for a while and we weren't living in our regular family home anymore. But I don't have a strong memory of that. But people that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, like they should fucking know better.
They should. But they're there, not to otherize them, not to be ageist, but like when I'm going to the rec center to take my daughter swimming, who's staffing the separatist table?
Yep.
It's fucking a couple of 67-year-olds.
The thing that I always think about that, I guess maybe to go back to the money thing a little bit, is I look at these people that are, in their 60s, potentially even older, and I'm like, you get CPP and old age security payments monthly from the government of Canada. Oh, well, we're gonna get money back and make APP.
We put so much into CPP.
Yeah.
They're gonna pay us out, because that was another thing that the government was saying.
And the math was so fucked.
The math was so fucking insane.
Yeah.
They're gonna pay us 75% of the total purse or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. And so that was a situation where I was like, your sole source of income right now, potentially, you want to like put that in the hands of Danielle Smith?
I think that lends to, and I don't want to call old people like easy to manipulate. I think that does lend to like the idea of misinformation and disinformation. I do feel like people have been misled. They've been robbed of their critical thinking because of the era we live in. We can just go online, engage in bias confirmation, hear it from our fucking neighbor, find an article that says what we already want it to say, and then that's good enough for us.
Well, and I don't even necessarily, I don't want to say that they're terribly wrong because they were given, this isn't something that they found on Facebook from Joe Blow. Is that, like, that fucking loser that lives in, I think he lives in Airdrie, Berta Proud Dad? Have you ever seen this fucking dickhead?
When I was trying to prep for this episode, that was my first angle. Instead of being well researched and like presenting like this logical path to why this is stupid, which I think is the right path, I was going to kind of go like, I'm gonna find these Reddits, I'm gonna find these threads and these Instagram posts of these total morons, and he was one that I found, and I was like, oh, this is gold.
Yeah, the guy's a fucking idiot. So it's not like they stumbled across one of his posts that is, incredibly biased, uninformed, quite clearly has an angle to take. It's not like they stumbled on that and they took it as fact. They got that information about the Alberta pension payments from an actual submission that was done by the Alberta Prosperity Project.
Yes.
That, they provided them with data. So I don't want to say they fell for this crazy misinformation because it was like, by all intents and purposes, it was a legitimate source of information. Now the math is flawed, but it's not.
It was the government saying it. I see exactly what you're saying.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's not two people getting together for coffee at Tim Hortons and pulling numbers out of their ass.
No, that's fair, and maybe that's a mischaracterization. There's a lot of that.
You are right in the sense that how can you look at that and just take that at face value? How can you look at that and say, oh, well, this is like, where's your critical thinking to think that in a country of 40 million people, of which 3.5 million live in this province, in what world do you think we would have that size of a share of Canada Pension Plan? Like, in what world does that math even remotely make sense to you?
Doesn't math. The math doesn't math.
We have higher average incomes and, we've been paying in, and so we should get more. Maybe more than the average province, sure. Right? It probably wouldn't be equally 12 parts if you were to divide it out, right? But it's also not 50% to you as one province. Like, this didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna keep moving. And this next point, it's important to talk about. I think we forget, where we came from. And I don't want to get like too deep into this, but Canada's a pretty new country.
Yep.
We do have like this colonial history of like coming here and doing really, really bad shit and just kind of taking over. And it's very easy. You were talking about, we forget the 80s. Like
it's very easy to forget the 1880s.
We forget the 1780s. And so this is something I think it's important to talk about. So separation is inherently racist. It is. And I hope to prove that to you, listener, with Dex's input. All right. So same thing. I've got 4 points. I'm going to break them down, keep the format. First one here, why separation is inherently racist, the displacement of Indigenous sovereignty. One of the most prominent criticisms is that the separatist movement often ignores or seeks to override Indigenous treaty rights. All of Alberta is treaty land. Indigenous leaders, such as Chief Sheldon Sunshine, got a reference, have argued that a move towards separation is an attempt by a settler majority to unilaterally break agreements made with the Crown. Experts suggest by ignoring the need for Indigenous consent, the movement implicitly asserts a white settler authority over the land, effectively attempting to colonize the land a second time. By removing federal protections for First Nations, some separatist leaders have used coded language suggesting Indigenous peoples would have equal rights in a new Alberta, which is often interpreted as an intent to abolish the distinct legal status and land titles guaranteed to First Nations.
The argument that they've been making, and I saw this, was like, well, no, we didn't have to consult First Nations because the consultation starts now that it was approved. And I was like, well, no, that's backwards. That's backwards. You can't say, hey, we've got a bunch of people signed that want to leave, so now we're going to talk to you about what this might look like for you. No, it's we've talked to you, we've come up with some type of workable solution, and then we can go forward with signing this petition and saying this is how this would proceed. Because right now, everybody that signed the petition, nobody has a fucking idea what would happen with treaty rights.
No, there's no plan.
Whether or not you are supportive of maintaining that or not, you have no idea on either side how that's going to fucking work. You just signed a piece of paper saying you want to separate from Canada without knowing the solution to a very fundamental issue of this. So yeah, it is backwards. And to me, yeah, it's very, well, it is racist. It's like we're going to ignore this, and that's the back burner issue. That's the last thing to worry about.
That's the last thing we'll sort out.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out. And probably more on the point, the influence of white nationalist elements, right? So people are definitely not considering, the history and the context, but they certainly are coming out of the woodwork to be like, yeah.
Yeah, there are some of those people.
I never liked them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, not wrong, right?
It's a platform. So while the mainstream leadership of separatist groups often tries to distance itself from extremism, there have been documented instances of overlap. In early 2026, the movement faced backlash after prominent figures and media outlets associated with Western alienation interviewed leaders of groups like the Dominion Society and the Second Sons, which extremism experts describe as white nationalist. Critics argue that the stay free rhetoric occasionally mirrors far-right populism found in the U.S., focusing on protecting traditional values, blood and soil, those types of narratives that characterize immigration and federal diversity policies as a threat to the Alberta identity. They are lining up.
Yeah. And you know what's hilarious? Alberta was one of the last provinces to join Confederation. Like, to say that there's an Alberta identity, the Alberta identity is arguably weaker than almost any other province's identity. Like, we haven't been here as long. For the longest time, we were Northwest Territories.
Yeah.
Like, this province was not a province until 1902, I think, was, one of the youngest provinces in Confederation. And so to be like, but, again, it's, there is that element. And you also hear it to go further than Indigenous. You hear about, well, they let all these other people in from India, from other countries around the world, but India seems to be one of the big ones where, it's like the federal government let them in and then they came here. They love to conveniently ignore the big pitch that Danielle Smith had a few years ago about like come to Alberta and like just soak up as many immigrants as possible because they wanted to boost population numbers here, tax base.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, they're partially here because we told them to come.
We asked them to come.
And now it's like, now that you're here, we don't fucking want you here. Like,
Most of us right now are here because at one point, the federal government asked us to come.
Yeah, they're selling land for $1 an acre.
Please come homestead so that the United States, the 13 colonies, doesn't move north. We need to secure our boundaries, our territories. You come over here and you can just have all this land. You just have to, homestead, fucking farm it, and then
have 13 kids.
Have 13 kids, and then they were like, oh, hold on, you're doing it weirdly. You guys move here to a colony, and we're gonna try another group. And we've been doing this for a while, right? It was us. That was a perfect segue because that is the next point for why separation is inherently racist is the anti-immigrant sentiments.
Yeah.
Like they're huge. It's undeniable. The movement has increasingly absorbed grievances regarding federal control over immigration. Okay, so while some focus on the economic cost of population growth, others frame immigration as a tool used by Ottawa to dilute Alberta's conservative culture. Recent reports indicate a rise in hate-motivated incidents. This is true, and xenophobic rhetoric in Alberta. You don't have to go far to just see this happening. I just have to go to my job in High River. Fuck. Analysts note that the separatist narrative of us versus them, Alberta versus Ottawa, can easily be co-opted by those who define us in a narrow, racialized term, leading to a hostile environment for marginalized communities. This is just an opportunity for people to be like, yeah, they're taking our jobs. They get them out of here.
And I will say, like, there is an argument for immigration reform at the federal level. And have we been bringing in too many people? Has there been, can our infrastructure handle this? Has there been loopholes that have been abused? I mean, in Ontario, it's the basket weaving schools that Doug Ford talked about, and people gave him shit, but he's not fucking wrong. They absolutely have colleges there with the sole purpose of getting international students into Canada so that they can fucking work at Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
Like that's not, but that doesn't mean that we have to completely tear it all down. It's like, no, we can work around the edges and we can fix this moving forward, and we can let our infrastructure catch up, and we can invest in our infrastructure while reducing this on this side. But it doesn't mean, I think what a lot of these people are really kind of hoping will come out of this is that we're separated and then we can start ICE-style deportations. Well, you got brought in from the Canadian government, but this is Alberta-stan now.
Yeah.
And we're sending you back to where you fucking came from.
Do you think that'd be the name, is Alberta-stan?
That's my pitch.
Yeah. I like that.
I that would upset so many of those separatist people. Yeah, we're going with Alberta Stan. They'd be like, I don't want no fucking stands at the end of my. We're trying to send them back to the stands, like, you know.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and I always laugh at the argument that like, oh, the federal government is sending all these immigrants here to like dilute conservative culture. I'm like, these people are coming from some of the most conservative countries in the entire fucking world, like India.
They're more racist than you are.
Yeah, first of all, they hate white people.
Oh yeah.
But like, no, they that's not true. But you know, India is
I didn't mean
incredibly
like that, but like class systems.
Yeah.
Like, we're coming from rigid conservative structures. I agree.
India is an incredibly conservative country. They still have the caste system.
Yeah.
Right. You've got, you know, a lot of these Muslim countries, Pakistan, like a lot of Muslim countries, Muslim dominant countries are incredibly conservative. They are not lining up to vote NDP. They're like they will. While everybody's like, oh, you know, I think they're using coded language for not liking gay people. I'm like, these people don't fucking like gay people. Like that's just, and they are straight
coded.
up about it.
Yeah.
Right. Like they are. If anything, those people moving to Alberta has only enhanced conservative viewpoints. Like, you know, maybe it's us that are a little center left that are like, no, we're being flooded. You know what? Let's separate from Canada. Let's do it.
And there's I can't articulate this, but you touched on it, the idea of like letting our infrastructure catch up. It's like, well, then all these people who keep getting stupidly rich that are friends with the 1% in Alberta would make less money, and that can't happen either, right? Like, we don't want to do that.
And maybe our infrastructure would catch up if we weren't fucking blowing $100 million on Tylenol.
Yeah, fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. I hate, like, anytime all that shit gets brought up, I'm like, what are we really talking about? We talking about money right now? Fuck you guys. Oh, yeah.
You waste it.
That's where I lose the, like, decorum. But, like, I don't want to present an argument. I just want to swear. Like, dude, this is a joke. This is a fucking joke. You guys are clowns. God damn it. I'm not gonna skip the fourth point for why separation is inherently racist, because we've talked about it already. It's come up. Demographics, right? Studies show that the movement is supported by older white rural men. Yep. Like, we know who signed these petitions.
I saw this study, and separation support is highest among the biggest determinant of your support of separation in Alberta is your income. The higher it is, the more likely you are to support separation. And your level of education. The lower it is, the more likely you are to support separation. That's not me being a dick. Although I did say on my story last night that, like, you know, I don't support it because I can read. That's a little mean, little reductionist.
There's a direct correlation.
If you have a high income and a low education, you are far more likely to support separatism. And you know, I'll let people draw their own conclusions from that.
Yeah, fair enough. Man, there's so much stuff that I also want to talk about in that same vein, but it would detract from this discussion. We're doing a good job of keeping on track.
I think we are. Yeah,
so
people will be proud of us.
We're gonna keep it on track here. All right. So the last big theme here, and this is where we're gonna attempt to explain what's really happening. How did we actually get here? And maybe we're fucking way off the mark, but hey, we're just having a good time.
Just a couple podcasters.
Just a couple podcasters trying to save the world. Hey?
One podcast at a time,
One podcast at a time, baby.
Stay tuned for our next episode where we do more AI songs.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. So many people listen to the last one like, these guys are funny. They're doing AI songs, and they made it 10 minutes into this one. They're like, what? What is
Very
this?
code switch, yeah.
Yeah, we switched codes. Sorry, guys. We talk about what we want to talk about. Okay, so what is really happening in Alberta? And I believe it boils down to this phenomena called status anxiety. Okay? So I'm gonna define that. Status anxiety describes the psychological and social distress felt by a group when they perceive their relative standing in society is being stolen or diminished. Rather than being driven by absolute poverty, it is driven by relative deprivation. The feeling that people like me are no longer as respected, powerful, or prosperous as they used to be. Yeah, deep.
Yeah. You know, I guess that is a thing, right? Like if you feel like you had a really great life going and you feel that's been diminished in any way, shape, or form, then you are going to, there's two ways to look at that. The first way would be, okay, well, what is the world economic situation that's going on that could be affecting this?
Yeah.
What is the realities of maybe my line of work?
But they're not looking at that.
No, they're not. So
That's what I'm saying.
The second way to look at it is to say, well, others have caused this, and I need to blame somebody.
Yeah.
And I need to take action in the most like incredibly ridiculous way.
So let's dive deeper. The petro-identity crisis. For decades, the archetype of the hardworking oil man was the cultural and economic hero of Alberta. As the global economy pivots towards green energy and the federal government introduces carbon pricing, this demographic feels like their identity is being rebranded as villainous or obsolete by Ottawa, by the elites in Ottawa. Separation becomes a way to protect that specific identity. Proponents aren't just fighting for lower taxes, they're fighting to remain the main character in Alberta's story.
Yeah, I can see that as well. But here's the thing. So today there's just an announcement that they are going to be adjusting carbon pricing for Alberta industry.
It's supposed to be way lower.
Yep.
Yeah.
So oil companies are effectively getting a handout in the form of a tax break or in the form of a carbon pricing break. And then tomorrow there's a big announcement, a joint announcement between the province and the federal government about increasing pipeline capacity. And so, obviously the federal government is going to be getting involved likely through some type of investment. Carney has talked about separating out budget expenses in the federal government to have, here's the expenses that we pay towards our debts, towards hospital, and then here's the expenses that we pay towards infrastructure development. And having like a infrastructure budget, basically, separately from the actual government budget. And so the federal government is throwing a bone to Alberta in a very big way, kind of completely, I guess, cutting the legs out from that argument that they're not supportive of Alberta industry, that they're not supportive of the oil industry, because they are. Like, you know, the Trans Mountain Pipeline, the Kinder Morgan Pipeline. All of these things happen because of the federal government.
Even Trudeau.
He bought a fucking pipeline and then did a shit job of getting it built out, and it cost like 10 times as much as it should have. But he bought the fucking pipeline to remove the regulatory risk from these companies. Like, these companies are just coming in and they're picking up when the job is done.
And so I think that's an important distinction, because what I'm saying with status anxiety is not that it is real. These things that I'm discussing, they are perceptions.
Yeah.
They're wrong.
They fly in the face of reality.
Yeah, they fly in the face of reality. That's a great way to put it. The feds are doing what they can. Times are tough everywhere.
Yeah.
There is investment in Alberta. They do want this to happen. They do recognize this as a major economic driver for this country. It's not this idea of like Pierre E. Trudeau just fucking saying like, we don't need to worry about these guys. There's not enough representation. It's inconsequential. You know, what do you call that? What was it? The National
Energy Program.
Yeah.
Which, side note, so many arguments I've seen lately, and this is not related to separation, but the Venn diagram is probably two very much overlapping circles.
It's just a circle.
It's just a circle. With gas prices being as high as they are, a lot of people, I've seen these arguments. They're saying like, well, we have all this oil here. Like, it's under our feet. Why are we paying heavier prices? Why are we sending it out to the United States? Why are we sending this stuff out to the global commodities market when it's right here? We should be controlling this and selling it for a price that is fair to Canadians. And I'm like, what you've just done is made an argument for the National Energy Program. Like, I don't know if you see the irony in this.
They don't.
The thing that you hate most about the Trudeau family that is still lingering decades later, you've just made an argument for. Like,
I hope Megan's grandma doesn't listen to this podcast. I'm gonna be so fucking disowned. But it's true. It's
true. You just made an argument that we should control our resources and sell them at a discount to the world market for the benefit of Canadians. that is ostensibly what the National Energy Program was going to do. And now the gas prices are a little high. Now that it costs $200 to fill up your truck, it's like, no, we need National Energy Program. What are you talking about? You hate that.
Oh, they don't know what they're talking about. That's the whole thing. Oh man, I feel honestly like, all right, I'm gonna continue to go through this just because we've established this format, but we've done a very good job of touching on everything already. So now I'm just kind of maybe finish our notes so we can bring closure to the conversation. But we have actually talked a little bit about this. So still on the point of status anxiety and what's really happening in Alberta, the demographic displacement. Okay, we touched on that during the why separatism is inherently racist. But status anxiety often manifests when a dominant group sees the country's demographics changing through immigration and urbanization, right? So the sentiment is that support for groups like Stay Free Alberta is highest among older, rural whites, a group that feels their traditional values are being replaced by multicultural, progressive federal agendas. So by advocating for independence, they are attempting to draw a border around a version of the past where their demographic was held undisputed, in a social and political way. They were number one. They're top dogs. And now there's all these other people in the mix, and they don't like you.
What I will say to that is...
Say it.
This is scientific, but it's very small dick energy.
No, I love it.
It is because
I love it. Small dick energy.
If you are very
that resonates.
If you're not confident in yourself and you're not confident in your identity as a person and your standing in society and where you fit into this greater society, then you're going to look at people that are different, whether that's religion, whether that's the color of your skin, where you came from, whatever. You're going to look at them and think, well, now I go to Tim Hortons and it's all brown people behind the counter.
Sing Hortons.
Yeah. It's all brown people behind the counter, and I don't like this anymore, and it's changing the way that my community looks. And it's like, well, yeah, but okay, so first of all, did you want to work at Tim Hortons?
No.
Were you striving to be, the midday shift at Tim's? Was that your career trajectory? No. That's the reason why these people are being brought in, is to fill these jobs that you don't want to fucking do. And them being here does not diminish who you are. But if you allow yourself to feel that way, if you're not confident enough in yourself, then you're going to look at these people and you're going to be like, well, now, Tim Hortons isn't as white as it used to be. And that reflects on me. Like it's almost internalizing something that's not there. If I don't know if I'm making myself clear.
No, yeah, absolutely. My head goes to, south of the border, let's get rid of all these immigrants, pro-ICE. Who's guarding my lawn? Yeah. I can't find anyone to work for me.
Who's working in the field picking my vegetables for $7.50 an hour, which is minimum wage, doing backbreaking labor in the hot sun? It's not the locals that have lived here.
Nope.
I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be like, I hope that doesn't come off as racist or something, but there are people that do not want to do that job, and the people that do want that job.
It's racially charged, but we're having that exact conversation.
Yeah. The people that do want to do that job are people coming from elsewhere that did not have opportunity to make $7.50 an hour.
Yeah. Doing
anything in their home country.
And that's how your entire economy has been established over the last 150 years.
Yeah.
Right? To support that. It's fucking crazy.
So to me, to look at somebody making minimum wage at Tim Hortons and be like, this affects me deeply, I'm like, well, that's a you problem. You lack serious confidence in yourself to let that affect you.
You're insecure.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. I think my most, you ever do something that you realize in hindsight is racist?
Every day.
Yeah. I think
no, but yeah.
It's a story that my dad, for whatever reason, he cracks up, and it comes up every Canada Day. And I didn't realize at the time how racist I was being. I certainly was not intentional with my racism, as people in Stay Free Alberta can be. Myself, not intentional. I went to Tim Hortons. It does not bother me who works there. But I made my order and I went around to the fucking drive-thru, and it's Canada Day. They give me my shit, and the lady, a new to Canadian, I don't want to say new Canadian because that's racially charged. Someone who is new to the country, someone who is not born here, said, "Here's your order," and they go, "And happy Canada Day." And my response was, "Thank you." You
didn't say it back?
I didn't say it back.
Okay.
I didn't maybe that it wasn't anything subconscious. I didn't mean anything by it, But then I was like thinking about it, and I was like, oh, that's no good. That's no good. I should have immediately been like, and happy Canada Day to you as well.
Yeah.
You know?
You're actually probably enjoying Canada more than most Canadians are right
It's
now.
a happier Canada Day for you. Yeah, I'm a piece of shit. Yeah, and I don't know why. It sticks with me.
Can I tell you, this is completely unrelated.
That
but,
we
like,
need a little bit of that. This has been a very serious episode.
this is like mildly, I felt very racist in the moment.
Yeah.
So there's this comedian in Calgary, and I've met him a few times. At the time, I'd only met him maybe a handful of times. He's Indigenous. But he does a joke. He does a bit about when he grows his hair out, he looks Asian. So I'm walking to a comedy show, and I knew I was going to see him that night. And I was like,
You're anticipating him.
yeah, I was like, oh, that's him standing at the corner waiting to cross the street to go to the venue that we're going to. Like it wasn't me like 100 kilometers away. Like, oh, I ran into him. Anyway, I see him, and then I walk up and I look, and I'm like, oh, is that him? And I kind of do a double take, but then he's looking at me. He's like, hey, man. I was like, oh, fuck, it is him. Okay. I was like, hey, how's it going? Shake his hand. And then this person that I immediately learned was not actually him launches in this conversation. They're like, do you know how much Jesus loves you? And I was like, hey.
You're still thinking like, is this a bit?
Yeah,
Is he fucking with me?
And so then I like look, and I was like, oh fuck, it's not him. And so then I have this conversation, but I'm totally thrown off because I thought I was talking to somebody else. And I was like, no, this is a Filipino guy, whatever. And so then we cross the road. I go into the venue, and I'm talking to somebody inside. I'm like, I saw this like Asian guy, and I thought it was so and so. Everybody knows him because he's in the scene. And I was like, I look out the window, and then I actually see the guy walking down the street, like the guy that I thought it was. And I was like, that is him. And they're like, yeah, that's him. And I was like, okay, we've all verified. I go outside, and I was like, this is crazy. It's going to sound crazy racist. Which when you walk, when you walk up to somebody, you start a conversation as a white person, like saying, this is going to sound racist.
Crazy racist.
It is racist. I was like, I had this conversation with this guy. I thought it was you. And I was like, it was so weird to like have this conversation. And then the guy that I was talking to walks by us and like nods at me and keeps walking down the street. And I was like, that was the fucking guy. And he turns, he's like, that's a full-on Chinese man. Like, I'm native. I was like, I know. I'm an idiot. Like,
you know what's funny is my candidate Tim Hortons story is like a drop in the bucket of like racist stories, but that's the only one I was comfortable sharing on a podcast. You know, we all grow, we all learn. Oh, okay. I've got two more. I'm gonna rip through them. So again, we're still talking about the real occurrence. Why is this happening in Alberta? Political impotence.
Sorry, can I pause this for a second? I feel like I hear my child
screaming,
yelling.
Yeah. Hey, play that tinkle jingle.
Okay, we're back. You know what's funny is like these headphones, they block out a lot of
I was hearing it.
You obviously have better hearing than I do. And I was like, is that a child yelling? And I go upstairs, and Alicia's taking Kennedy to her dance class, but Kaylee didn't want to go. So Alicia's like, okay, Dad and Uncle Drew are downstairs. You can stay here. You know what all that was about? And also I feel like people probably heard it in the background. Like I can't hear it through the headphones, but it probably came through on the mic.
It was a while.
Yeah. She needed a snack opened. Like that's what I just had.
I mean, that's where they're at, man. Fuck. I've had way bigger blowouts over snacks than that. I just laughed because I could hear it, and you're telling the story about like the racism of the Chinese guy versus the Indigenous man.
Me confusing two totally different peoples. Yeah.
But I thought you were hearing it and being like, I just got to finish this story. You're like, I'm just powering through, and I was kind of proud of you.
I think I'm going deaf.
Well,
I need subtitles on Netflix.
We all. Fuck. I enjoy them.
Me too.
Yeah, I actually like it. Yeah, we are getting old. We're getting old. All right. The piggy bank narrative. This one's good. We talked about it, but it's a core component of status anxiety. People just feeling exploited but ignored, right? You know, I don't know if it's true. It's not true. This goes along with the transfer payments kind of thing. So proponents frequently argue that Alberta is the piggy bank of Canada. They feel while their money flows to the east via equalization and transfer, their political influence is diluted by the larger populations of Ontario and Quebec. That's just rep by pop. That's just understanding how our system works.
Yeah.
And this creates a deep sense of resentment. The status of being an economic powerhouse is undermined by a perceived lack of respect. Respect my daughter. From the federal government. They're disrespecting us, leading to a despondent conclusion that they want our money, but they hate our people. Right?
And again, I think the support that's coming out for like industry over these last few days,
it's just not true.
Yeah,
it's objectively untrue.
And then I guess the flip side of that argument to me, like, I've heard this, they're like, well, the election's decided before polls in Alberta even close. And I'm like, that's how population works. Like, is the argument that you're trying to make that your vote should be worth more based on GDP? Based on the
that is the argument I think they don't know they're trying to make.
But like that's very much like Citizens United in the U.S. Like your money is free speech, and you can donate as a billionaire. You can donate as much money you want to political campaigns because your money is an extension of your speech. But then that's again a huge power imbalance. If you've decided that money is what decides opinion and speech, then and also first of all. Or second of all, third of all, I don't know where I am in this conversation.
That's okay. Go on.
The people that, if you're in Alberta and you're doing well for yourself, say you're making $250,000 a year working up north, working your ass off. I'm not trying to diminish. Those people work hard. They're away from their families for weeks at a time. They work hard. They make their money. If you think that you're rich, you're fucking not. You are not even in the top 1% in Canada. You're not even in the top 5% in Canada. The real rich people, the real rich people, they would actually prefer that we are all starving. Like you are not one of them. You are closer to the person making $15 an hour at Tim Hortons that you want out of this country.
Absolutely.
Than you are to fucking Daryl Cates.
Yep.
Or to whoever the fuck owns the Flames. I forget his name right now. Murray Edwards owns CNRL. You are closer to the minimum wage, living under the poverty line person than you are to the billionaires. But you want to lick their boots and suck their dicks? Yeah, you're picking the wrong team because they would throw you under the bus without thinking twice.
Yeah, you should be sucking our dicks.
Yes, come suck my dick.
I think.
And you already have my address. I know you do from that fucking petition list. So come to my house and suck my dick right now.
Oh God, I like that. Zero-sum thinking is my last point, and then we're gonna close it out. Status anxiety often leads to zero-sum thinking. So where the gain of another group is viewed as a direct loss for oneself. Mm-hmm. So again, this whole status anxiety is just perception. This is why you see such vitriol directed towards Indigenous land rights or federal diversity initiatives. Proponents don't see these as social progress. They see them as the federal government taking status away from Albertan working class and giving it to others. This fuels the unthinking. That gives me pause. Unthinking, because I feel like this whole timeline has just been the anti-intellectual movement. Yeah, we just I don't know when it was, probably like 2006. We're like, let's stop fucking thinking, and that's a different podcast. So this fuels the unthinking nature of the movement. When you are in a state of high anxiety about your status, you prioritize emotional retribution, which is in this case leaving Canada, over a logical cost-benefit analysis. The reality of being landlocked, for example. Like we can crunch these numbers, dudes. Like we can just make a list. We can pros and cons this, and it is again black and white. Separation is stupid. It's objectively dumb. It's a dumb thing to believe in, and you're dumb. Sorry. Now I just threw out the last hour podcast. Take that back. But it's zero-sum thinking, right?
Yeah. It's cutting off your nose to spite your face.
It is.
And yeah, I find a lot of the people that subscribe to it, I'm just like, well, what's the last book you read? You know, and again, not to be reductionist or rude, but it's like, have we expanded our thinking? Have you ever thought about the economic implications of this? To go back to the piggy bank thing that you were talking about, a lot of people are like, well, you know, they point to Texas and Florida. They don't have state income tax because they're taking money from other sources. Florida has some of the highest property tax rates in the entire developed world. They pay insane amounts for insurance, vehicle and home insurance, which we already do in Alberta anyway. They pay way more. I saw this breakdown. It was like Florida taxation versus California. And when you start at the top of the list and you do kind of like an accounting of it, it's like federal income tax, obviously the same. State income tax, Florida suddenly is way ahead. If you live in Florida and you make $100,000 a year, you're way ahead of somebody in California. But then you start factoring in property taxes. You start factoring in the difference that you pay for insurance, comparable insurances, all these other things. And then actually California comes out slightly ahead when all is said and done. So yeah, you're not paying it off your paycheck. You got a bigger paycheck in your pocket, but then that's going out to different areas because the government has to fund itself in some way, shape, or form.
They'll get their money.
They will get their money. And so they can say, well, we're not going to charge income tax. Okay, that sounds great. But the money's coming from somewhere, and it will come whether you like it or not. And it will probably end up being higher than if you just paid your fucking income tax.
And that's why it's incumbent on you, the voter, to get informed. And to not just, easier said than done.
Way easier said
than There it is. That should have been the fucking, here's what's wrong with Alberta.
It's honestly, not to sound pessimistic, it feels like a borderline unsolvable problem.
I said this in a different context to a friend recently, and it wasn't well received. It was during crisis, and we were not getting into that at all. But I had mentioned to him in this time, I said, don't worry, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And I feel like that is kind of where we're at right now in this province and where we're heading.
It almost feels like, it has to get really bad and people have to realize the consequences of their actions before they actually think about their actions, right?
We have to live in this shit.
It's almost like maybe we actually do have to separate and go crawling back to Canada, hat in hand, to realize that was a really bad fucking idea. Because right now, they are absolutely, like, again, if you've been on any of the social medias and you've watched that other side, that conversation, as a 35-year-old white man, like, apparently Instagram and Facebook thinks that I really want to be a part of this. I get recommended this shit all the time. And you see the comments and you're just like, well, now they're playing the victim card. They've almost been given a license to be victims in this scenario now. They've had their democratic rights trampled upon, ignoring the fact that, the indigenous people that already have a treaty with Canada have been completely ignored in all of this. They're like, well, I saw one that was basically comparing, this judge that made this decision to Hitler. It was like, well, next up, we're on the fucking train cars into the work camps. And I was like,
whoa,
that is a leap and a half.
A leap. But you're not wrong. Like that's how they feel.
Yeah.
And on the note of like you being pushed those types of narratives on your social media, it's because we're interested in it, right? Like I must have Googled "Stay Free Alberta" 35 times today. I must have actually been on.
And you know what? I'm sure that the algorithm looks at our interests, our demographic. Again, like it's like, okay, here's a white guy in rural Alberta who is in his mid-30s. He stereotypically should align with this type of viewpoint, right? Maybe not even separatist, but like he will lean more conservative. And that's the content we're going to feed him. And we're going to feed him this rage bait. And then they know that even if you don't fit into that, you're going to engage with it. You're going to go in the comments. You're going to see some guy saying, this is basically Nazi Germany all over again. And you're going to be like, well, you're a fucking idiot. Yeah, and Facebook and Instagram, they have accomplised what they want because you just spent more time on the platform.
And you're going to see their advertisements. Yep. And I felt, because, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably close to us. You probably saw how giddy I was, the post I made on Instagram following the court ruling, shutting down the petition based on First Nation consultation. I was giddy. I was literally.
Did anybody reach out to you like that's on the other side? Like, fuck you.
Yeah, I lost a couple followers. Okay, I lost a couple followers, which is like I very much took the approach, and I'm sure they're doing the same. Where I was like, good riddance. Yeah. I had a really good friend who messaged me to engage in a dialogue, and it was really thoughtful. He was like, "I'm UCP. I don't want to separate. Yep. I feel lumped into a bit of your vitriol. You're a little too excited about this." And I was like, you know what? That's fair. I think I'm guilty of retribution as well. I recently had my collective bargaining rights removed from me through the use of the notwithstanding clause, and I found that to be very undemocratic. And I did feel victimized. I thought that was unfair, and I'm mad about it. And so in a weird way, it comes full circle. I can almost empathize with the other side, not in the rationale and not in, you know, how we got here or why one opinion is better than the other, but in that feeling of like, I was so excited to see you get taken down a peg because of how I've felt treated, right?
Yeah.
And I think that maybe is a more succinct description of what's happening than anything we just did in the last hour. People are having hard times, and people are angry, and they're upset, and they don't really know what to do, what they can do. This very much, when I said earlier that people have been robbed of their critical thinking, they've been robbed of their ability to like perspective take. This is true. This is really happening, and it's not necessarily their fault. It's somebody's fault. This is very much being done to all of us,
Yep.
right? And we don't have the answers, and they don't have the answers. But you do feel sometimes like you just need something to happen. You need something to go your way. And whether that's misplaced, whether that in the end is actually something that's very bad for you. You know, you could draw a lot of parallels to like people self-medicating. You're like, I'm having such a terrible time, I'm just going to do something to make myself feel better. And then like, oh, big picture, in the end, that was more harmful.
Yep.
This is taken away from what you wanted to accomplish. And I feel like we're seeing that. You know, there's just not enough authentic discourse. There's not enough people sitting and talking and being willing to listen. So did I get a little bit of heat from that? Yeah, probably less than you'd think. And I meant what I said. Like, I think I said at one point, you texted me and you're like, that olive branch you extended to your separatist friends, they're probably not going to accept it.
It didn't feel very genuine.
It didn't feel very genuine. So maybe the olive branch itself wasn't genuine, but what was genuine is, I would say it's about 50-50. Like I roll with a group of guys who are like, they're the ones that are pulling their kids from school because they heard there were litter boxes. You know, they're the ones that were saying my mask was a face diaper and driving around in big long lineups on QE2 to really prove a point, you know, really stick it to us. And now here I am.
Freedom.
Give me freedom. Here I am being an asshole, you know, but they really lived that. I remember, I won't name names, but I remember when some of the mandates, not mandates, some of the restrictions were lifted, and like it didn't matter whether you were vaccinated, you could just go to the bar again. You know, like they we kind of like got post COVID, like the amount of people that said things to me like, "This is such a weight off my chest. You know, I feel like I can breathe again. This was ruining my life." I was like, "Whoa, you really lived that. You really felt that. You were wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but that must have been hard. That must have been a tough couple of years for you." So. And I really don't know where I'm going with any of this. I just think we probably could all do a little better to just maybe, myself included, less fucking shaming and less being like, you're a total idiot. And that was the whole idea with this episode, was like, let's see if we can defeat this with thought and not, you're an idiot and you're stupid because you're not as smart as me.
I will say anybody that doesn't take our same position has not made it this far in the episode. Like,
yeah,
if we're being honest,
yep.
How many people are willingly, ourselves included, willingly subjecting themselves to contrary opinions to what they currently hold? How many people are willingly doing that for an hour and 10-minute podcast? How many people are willingly going to go through that and maybe open their mind? I'm going to say very, very few. And then I will say, contrary to what you just said, I think you had a very positive take on it. These are not equal arguments, and they don't deserve equal space, quite frankly. And I think that maybe one of the reasons why we're in this is because we like to do this both sidesing and give everybody equal opportunity to present their case. When cases are not, life isn't fair, and things are not always A or B. It's like, well, no, A is objectively a much better argument than B. And so why does B get 50% of the time? You see this on the news all the time. Like you turn on, people will be like, oh, CNN, that's a leftist rag. You go turn on CNN. First of all, it's owned by a far-right billionaire who donates a ton of money to the Donald Trump campaign. But anyway, it's entertainment at the end of the day. You will go on any panel and they have requisite, right-wing talking point guy and right wing talking point girl and left wing talking point girl and left wing talking point guy and then the host. And they're talking about ice raids. And it's like, well, Renee Good, she shouldn't have been driving her car in her neighborhood. And it's like, is that an equal argument to why we shouldn't shoot unarmed people? Why do these two arguments get the same amount of airtime? Because one is objectively more right than the other. And I'm sorry, but putting two talking heads on there to talk about it doesn't make the other argument any more right. So I'm taking the other side of your point there is like, no, you got fucking shut down by the court. Your dumb idea is dead until our fucking government spends our tax dollars to appeal it in court. But your dumb idea got shut down because you did it wrong. And it's a wrong idea. So I don't know.
No, I fucking love it. You know what? I concede. That was. I feel like this is the end of the debate in old school. Like you just blacked out for a minute, and I'm like, that was perfect. All right, let's go home. Fuck it. Yeah, I can't rebuke. I can't rebuke because you are right. And
I needed to hear I was right. I don't often hear that I'm right.
No, fuck. Yeah. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe that's what maybe in a weird way, that's what I really want for everyone is just to sit down, engage in discourse, and then ultimately be like, I hadn't thought about it that way. I'm super wrong. Maybe I'm being idealist, right? Like I wish that is what would happen. Maybe I've missed a little bit of the reality that we find ourselves in. Your point about like anyone who is on the other side of us, they did not listen to this.
Yeah,
they already stopped following me.
To go to your example, the litter box example.
Yeah,
it's like, well, we can't sit down and have a one-on-one debate about this thing that doesn't exist, right? Like, so if we're sitting here and debating, do litter boxes belong in classrooms for kids that want to pretend to be cats? The actual argument there is not an argument because it's not a thing that happens. It's a thing that became a rumor on the internet and spread like wildfire. What's that old saying? The lie will make it around the world twice before the truth even has its shoes on.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I've not heard that.
Oh, you haven't heard that?
I like that.
Yeah. And so this rumor got platformed and Joe Rogan picked it up and said it. And then he went back and recanted that and said, oh, I fell for this like hoax story or whatever, this random one thing. But that never got the same play as the clip of him being like, have you heard at this school? And it's going around this division, and now it's going to be, there's kids shitting in litter boxes in the back of the classroom. So to sit down and have a discussion about this with somebody who's like, I don't think litter boxes should be in classrooms. It's like, I don't either, but it's also not a thing that's
They're not
happening.
In there. Oh, man.
It's not a thing that's happening. So what are we talking about? You're so angry about this thing that is just not, and so you've taken this position where you're wrong from the start.
We can't even engage in debate. We can't even engage in discourse because you're starting from a position of like total ridiculousness. Yeah. Something that is not real at all. That's fair. And I had a dear friend, an older lady that we spend a lot of time with, came over the one day a couple months ago, and she was talking about, she'd heard from a friend about the litter box thing, and and she asked me, like, as a teacher, what do you think about that? And I was very much like, well, what I think is that it's objectively, as strongly as I can use that word, not true. It's not a thing. It's never been a thing. Never was a thing. It hasn't ever happened in any school in Alberta. It's the most insane assertion you could possibly make. That's doesn't exist. But even the fact that we're talking about it now, like it just permeated and became something that people talk about. Like, can you believe they're doing this? Yeah. Can you believe they tried to hand me a receipt?
I can't believe that because it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's not real.
Again, now we're getting way off base, but
we're allowed to. It's the Rad Dad Redemption Podcast.
It's the same thing as like when people are like, oh, you can't have like the gender neutral bathrooms because men will go in there and start raping. And I'm just like, well, first of all, somebody who's going to commit such a heinous, horrible crime is not like, well, my God, if I could just get into the bathroom, it's not, that is not a situation. I heard somebody, actually, I was going to do a bit about this for comedies. I haven't figured out how to say it without sounding like a fucking bigot. But my thing was going to be like, there was this discussion happening. I think I saw it on Instagram where it was like, dads with daughters, us.
Yeah.
When you're in public and your daughter has to go to the bathroom, what bathroom do you take her to? Do you take her to the men's washroom or the women's washroom? And I was like, I didn't know this was a thing. I've always been like, I don't belong in the women's washroom. I don't identify that way. And so for me, I take my girls to the men's washroom.
As do I. Yeah.
Okay. And it's made for some uncomfortable conversations, but it is what it is. But these women, these moms were like, men, you take your girls into the women's bathroom. Moms will understand. Women will understand. And it's way safer for them in there than in the men's washroom. And I was like, what do you think is happening in men's washrooms? What do you think it's like just a lawless?
Does it sound like a men's washroom?
It sounds like a men's washroom right now in the background.
That's me pouring a drink. I'm sorry.
But I was like, what do you think is happening in there? Do you think it's just this lawless fucking fight club? And like we go in and I'm going to have to like fight 3 dudes like that are just to get my daughter to the stall. I was like, what do you think is happening? And that's where this discussion of like, well, if men can just get into bathrooms with women, everything goes out the window. They're just going to fall into their primal instincts. Like I was like, they're going to start waving their dicks around. Like I was like, what do you think? No, that's not like there's a small subset of society that might behave that way, but the signs on the bathroom door is not what's preventing them from doing that. If they want to do something horrible, they'll do something horrible.
I think I saw another comedian with a similar line of thinking. Like, you know, I want to go in there and I want to abduct someone and do this and do that. And I'm not going to say these words, you know, trigger. But unfortunately, I'm just not allowed.
Yeah, like,
you know, the sign on the door.
The sign on the door.
Yeah,
yeah. And so
I'm this horrible fucking rapist. Yeah,
yeah. And,
honestly.
And so maybe people have these. Maybe that's the news. Honestly, maybe it's the news. We were as humans. We were designed to live in little groups. We're monkeys that learn to walk upright, and we learned to use tools. We weren't meant to know everything that fucking happens in the world, right? We were meant to know what happens with your fellow Neanderthal in the cave next to you, and that was it. And now we're just bombarded with every horrible story. And there's 8 billion people in the world. Of course, bad things are going to happen, and people are going to commit horrible crimes. But in the grand scheme of things, you know, the world's a pretty good place. But if you let yourself just be defined by this one crazy guy that did this one thing, or this one trans person that did this one thing, and you make that your entire identity about stopping that incredibly rare situation, you're going to be consumed by it. And this, like, and so maybe some of us are able to compartmentalize that. Yeah, this horrible thing happened over there, and that's a thing that happened, but it's not the reality. And other people are like, no, this thing happened, and it's happening all the time, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, separatists are fucking idiots.
I feel like you and I, we flipped around a lot where you were like, you know, we need to put out the olive branch. And I was like, no, it's fucking, those arguments don't hold the same weight. And then I'm coming around, I'm like, you know, maybe they've been taken in by these like arguments and they're just not thinking logically. And you're like, fucking idiots. we're just dancing around, switching positions.
That's good. I love switching positions, and I love switching positions with you.
I love going from missionary to missionary.
Missionary? I'm talking missionary.
I'm talking belly to belly.
There are so many people that were with us for 93% of the way. They're like, these guys are finally choosing a direction. They've turned a leaf. Huh? What? Shit. Litter boxes. Trans bathroom. What? I thought we were talking about Alberta politics.
It's all connected. Can't you see?
Connected.
This is our conspiracy theory podcast.
Yeah, this was actually the Illuminati podcast. All right, really quickly. When's your next Hubtown? Do you know?
Last Saturday of the month. What's that? The 23rd? Is that the 23rd or? I've got it in my
30th?
calendar. Maybe it's not that one. It's in my calendar here.
Okay, I'll keep them hooked while you find that information. Yeah. So.
It's the 23rd.
All right.
Hubtown.
Okay, come out and hang out with us. It's been too long for a lot of you guys, and definitely me. Come see Dex do his thing. He's constantly refining his craft. He's fantastic. And you can see me and drink with me live. And other than that, Rad Dads don't have a lot going on. We're just kind of enjoying our time being Rad Dads and golfing, going to be in the summer, and we're going to keep putting out episodes because we fucking love it.
Yep. This is therapeutic.
Hell yeah. Cathartic.
Yep.
Later, dudes.
Bye.